Brutal revelation, break the chains of your past with the Holy Spirit. Are you ready? The storm raged outside, thunder clapping like the hands of angry spirits. In the dim glow of a flickering streetlight, shadows danced ominously on the walls of the old church. It was said that anyone who dared to enter at midnight would confront the chains of their own past. The townsfolk whispered of strange figures appearing, of voices that echoed in the empty pews, begging for release. Folks claimed the air was thick with an ancient sorrow, electrifying dread that wrapped around the heart like a vice, a tightness, a lump in the throat every time they thought of it. Jessica stood before the church's doors, heart pounding like a war drum. She had heard the stories. She had seen her mother's haunted eyes after too many nights crying about what was lost. The pain of abandonment, the sorrow of choices made. Could those chains be broken? Tonight, something compelled her to test the electric tension in the air, to challenge the dark whispers that promised discovery of her own soul. Would she find answers or plunge deeper into despair? The heavy wooden doors creaked open, revealing the starlit interior dusted with the scent of aged wood and the distant memory of incense. Each step echoed. It was a heartbeat in the deafening silence. The flicker of candlelight washed over the holy altar, illuminating fragile wisps of smoke spiraling upwards, carrying prayers long forgotten. Shadows shifted. A breeze rustled the pages of an old Bible as if it were breathing. Jessica felt a chill crawl down her spine, not just from the cold, but from the palpable sense of being watched. From the back, a figure emerged, shrouded in darkness. A woman? A ghost? Jessica held her breath. Was she really ready for the truth? All her fears rose up, gripping her chest hard. Was this what they meant by revelation? The woman stepped closer, and the candles flared, their light revealing a face that looked hauntingly familiar. Jessica's heart raced. Memories flooded back, bright yet painful, their edges sharp like broken glass. This woman, she had been lost to her long ago, a mother, a guide. Was she asking for forgiveness? Is it really you? Jessica whispered, her voice trembling under the weight of grief. The figure nodded slowly, a knowing smile creeping onto her lips. Can you break the chains? She asked, her voice echoing like a choir in the lonely church. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jessica's heart raced, the burning question hanging heavy in the air. Could she face the past and what it demanded of her? The words felt like chains themselves, a weight that threatened to pull her under. The image of her mother flickered in her mind, the loss, the blame, the anger. What would it take to set her free? The wind howled outside, rattling the stained glass windows, illuminating the stories held within each vibrant pane. They seemed to watch a silent audience, holding their breath. Jessica reached out, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the edge of the altar. What if she was too broken to be healed? The thought crushed her. But what if the chains could be shattered? The woman stepped closer, and all the pain Jessica felt bled into one simple question. Are you ready to break the chains of your past? The uncertainty loomed like the storm outside. One breath. One moment. Could she really take that step? Would she dare to find out what awaited her? Jessica's heart raced, a wild drum in the silence that seemed to swell and recede like the rushing tide. The shadows around her shifted, and the air thickened. The woman's question hung suspended between them, electric and charged with unspoken truths. Can you break the chains? The voice echoed in the stillness, but this time, it was different, a whisper that slithered into her soul, prodding at every wound she ever carried. Jessica closed her eyes momentarily, memories flooding in as if they were trapped behind glass, desperate to be released. Pain, regret, and a longing for connection spilled forth like a torrent. When she opened them again, she felt the weight of her mother's gaze. In the flickering candlelight there lay the pain of abandonment mirrored in that familiar face. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile moment. The woman extended her hand, beckoning with a knowing smile. "Follow me." Jessica stepped forward, drawn in by the very essence of the woman her mother. Each step felt like walking the tightrope between memory and reality, the boundary thinning with every breath. The altar stood in front of her, a sacred space that had held prayers soaked in tears, hopes swept away by despair. As Jessica approached, a low rumble of thunder echoed ominously outside, dark clouds roiling above the church like a tempest brewing within her heart. The figure gestured to a small, worn box displayed there. It looked like a treasure chest, but Jessica knew better. This was a box of secrets, wrapped in layers of her family's pain. "The past is not just chains, Jessica. It's a map. It shows the way forward," her mother said with an intensity that set her nerves alight. A shiver raced through Jessica's body. "But what if I don't like where the map leads?" she asked, the fear in her voice betraying the steel she tried to muster. The woman's eyes softened, shimmering like twin beacons of hope amid the storm's rage. "The truth can be terrifying, but lying to yourself is much worse. You hold the key. You've always held it." With shaking hands, Jessica reached for the box, feeling the weight of generations urging her forward. Perhaps the treasures inside were filled with remorse, but could they also contain forgiveness? She hesitated, heart caught in a web of uncertainty. Images of her childhood flickered through her mind, the laughter long gone, the warmth of love that had turned cold. Just as her fingers brushed the surface of the box, a sudden crack of thunder exploded outside, causing her to jump back. The candles flickered wildly, shadows swirling with a life of their own. Panic clawed at her chest. "What if I'm not strong enough? What if the truth destroys me?" The woman moved closer, urgency in her voice. "Jessica, the truth holds your power. It isn't about destruction, it's about liberation. But you must confront it. Only then will the chains truly break." With a deep breath, Jessica steadied herself, steeling her resolve against the wild storm and the chaos it mirrored within her. She felt a surge of courage flood through her veins, igniting a spark she thought was lost forever. Perhaps breaking the chains was worth the risk if it meant finding peace. Resolutely, she grasped the box, its surface cool against her palm. The weight felt just right, a promised release, or perhaps another burden yet to uncover. As the lid creaked open, a blinding light erupted from inside, catching her off guard. It was a warmth that enveloped her, whispering of broken chains and easy breaths. Jessica gasped, the light beckoning her with an urgency she could not ignore. In that moment, she understood this was just the beginning, but suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the wind howled through the open doors. Shadows shifted in the corners of the church, and for an instant, Jessica felt the sense of another presence, lurking, watching. What awaited them in the depths of her truth? Would the light consume her? Or would it unleash a darkness so profound that not even the Holy Spirit could shield her? One thing was certain, she was standing at the precipice of a revelation that would change everything. And as thunder rolled one last time, Jessica whispered, "What's next?" The light from the box surged forward, brightening the dim sanctuary. It was overwhelming, an explosion of warmth that radiated deep within her. Jessica shielded her eyes, her heart thudding a rapid tattoo against her ribs. In that moment, fear intertwined with exhilaration. She tasted both hope and dread on her tongue. "Trust it," her mother's voice was soft yet commanding, urging her deeper into the illumination. "This light reveals what must be faced." As the brilliance began to dim, shapes appeared within the glow. They drifted like ghosts, their faces familiar yet shrouded in pain and sorrow. Jessica gasped, recognizing the expressions of those she had lost, loved ones, friends, people marked by regrets and unspoken words. "Mom," she murmured, feeling tears prick at her eyes. "Confront them, Jessica," the woman whispered, her tone steady even amid the chaos brewing beyond the church walls. the faces flickered, and she saw her father's weary eyes, haunted by memories of his own mistakes. Her younger self appeared too, a girl clutching a tattered teddy bear, holding on to innocence in a world that had grown dark and cruel. Jessica's throat tightened at the sight, the girl so filled with dreams, unaware of the burdens that would accumulate. Suddenly, a chilling draft swept through the church, extinguishing the candles and casting the room into darkness. A cold shiver ran down Jessica's spine as she sensed the shadows thickening around her. They writhed and pulsed, forming into figures that reached out with skeletal fingers. "Don't look away!" her mother shouted through the despair, her eyes locking with Jessica's. Jessica's heart raced. She couldn't drown in this horror. She was the one holding the key. "What do you want from me?" she cried out, trying to summon strength through her fear. The shadows paused, as if contemplating her words. "Face us." A chorus of voices echoed, melding into a haunting melody that resonated in her bones. "You cannot escape your past." Jessica stumbled back but remembered her mother's gaze filled with fierce resolve. It anchored her. "No. You don't control me," she yelled, reclaiming her voice as fury surged within her. "Then prove it," one shadow sneered, growing larger, stretching towards her. With instinctive courage, Jessica lunged forward, the warmth from the box still pulsing in her veins. She reached into the darkness, emboldened by the light she had felt moments before. "You are not my truth," she declared, grasping at the figure. There was resistance, a tug-of-war of emotions, pain, fear, and chains of guilt, but she wouldn't back down. With a flash, Jessica felt her hands gripping something solid, a chain, fraying at the seams. It coiled around her like a serpent, hissing accusations, urging her to falter. She dug her heels into the ground, and with one breath, summoned every ounce of love, every memory, that had once felt like a burden. "I am stronger than you," she cried, the words morphing into shrieks that shattered the shadows. Light exploded forth, radiating from her core, burning through the murk that wrapped around her. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as the light expanded. Jessica's spirit surged, relentless, breaking the chains with pure resolve, but as the shadows fell away, Jessica was left staring at the flickering remnants of the box and the mysterious glow that now pulsed softly. A new voice emerged in the quiet aftermath, intertwined with the remnants of light. "Your journey has just begun, Jessica. You must confront what you think you know," it whispered, echoing wisdom that felt both foreign and familiar. Questions surged as she caught her breath. What lay ahead? Had she truly broken her chains, or was this just another layer of her truth waiting to be uncovered? As the last embers of light faded away, Jessica felt something shift within her, an unquenchable need to know, to dig deeper. What awaited her in the shadows? Would the true revelation liberate her soul or shatter her heart? In that weighty silence, she murmured to the darkness, "What comes next?" The air grew heavy, charged with an electric tension that pulsed through the sanctuary. Jessica felt her breath quicken as the shadows danced on the edges of her vision, lurking, waiting for their moment to pounce. She sensed an urgency drip from the walls, each heartbeat echoing a reminder that she wasn't done yet. "What do I need to face?" she whispered, her voice fraying like the remnants of the chains she had just broken. The reply came in a low rumble, a guttural sound that vibrated beneath her feet. "Your truth awaits," that voice echoed, taunting and compelling all at once, wrapping around her thoughts like a thick fog. Summoning every ounce of courage, Jessica took a cautious step forward. The shadows twisted and turned, morphing into shapes that felt unnervingly familiar. A flicker caught her eye, a movement just beyond the edge of the darkness. It was her father, his face drawn and weary, a sorrowful silhouette that seemed to beckon her closer. "Dad?" she breathed, her heart lurching. But the figure trembled violently. It wasn't just a memory. The moment felt larger than life, as if the past itself was tearing through the veil, desperate to reclaim her attention. "Don't let it in," a whisper floated from somewhere within the depths of the shadows, a mix of warning and reassurance. Jessica closed her eyes tight, taking a deep breath. The weight of every unresolved emotion loomed over her. Regret for words unsaid, grief for moments wasted, self-recrimination for choices made. She could feel them pressing down, and yet something deep inside urged her to look. When she opened her eyes, the darkness was swirling, coiling tightly like smoke ready to ignite. "You fled, Jessica," her father's voice breathed out, shaky and fragmented. "You turned your back when I needed you most." "No." Her voice cracked. "I tried. I wanted to save you." The shadows recoiled, creating space for her anger and regret, feeding off the emotions that surged like a tidal wave. "Face it." A harsh voice erupted from among the figures, its tone sharp enough to cut through the confusion. "You abandoned hope." The word struck her like a brick. Her knees buckled slightly, and for a moment, she questioned if this was true. Had she? No. It came out firm, a sudden resonance of defiance. "I was scared. I didn't know how to save someone who had already given up." That was it. The truth she had been avoiding. The shadows quivered. "Then acknowledge it," the voices murmured, melding into a tapestry of breathless anticipation. "Accept that fear was part of your journey." Acceptance. Jessica closed her eyes again, inhaling deeply. The warmth from the mysterious light within her pulsed once more, wrapping her in a cozy embrace. "I am afraid," she said, her voice steadier now. "But that doesn't define me." The shadows twisted violently, their faces contorting in rage and grief, unsure how to respond. The boundary that separated fear from liberation faintly flickered in the air. "Let it go," her mother's voice broke through, softer than all the chaos swirling around. "You must forgive yourself." Her heart raced as images flooded her mind, moments of happiness transformed into anguish, laughter turned to tears. She held on to those memories, and every time she let them slip from her grasp, they returned with heavier chains. With a fierce determination igniting in her core, Jessica stepped forward. "I'm not afraid anymore," she declared, feeling words cascade over her like a relentless tide. "You do not hold power over me." Light erupted from her again, brighter and more blinding than before, stretching into every shadow, every crack that dared to exist. The darkness screeched, tumbling back as rays of her truth surged forth, illuminating the sanctuary, but as the light shimmered fiercely against the wavering shadows, a chilling voice from deep within the void pulled her focus. "This is just the beginning, Jessica. What of the hidden truths yet unearthed?" Jessica's insides churned at the unresolved weight in the air. What more lay ahead? She could feel it, a palpable uncertainty that hung over her like a storm cloud. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling ever so slightly. Exactly who was pulling the strings from the dark? What was waiting for her on this winding path ahead? In that moment, Jessica realized she was standing at the precipice of something monumental, and she was far from finished. The light radiating from Jessica began to ebb, the sanctuary dimming like a dying ember. Panic clawed at her throat as shadows twisted back into ominous figures, their expressions a mix of fury and despair. She stood there, heart pounding like a war drum, realizing the fight wasn't over. "Where am I?" she shouted, voice echoing in the suffocating stillness. The atmosphere teetered on the brink of chaos, and a heavy silence fell, as if the world itself held its breath. "Here lies the sanctuary of your soul," the voice slithered back, wrapping around her like a shroud, veiled and taunting. "You've ignited the darkest parts of you, but can you extinguish the flames?" Jessica felt a chill creep up her spine. The word struck her, igniting long-buried insecurities. "What are you?" she countered, unwilling to be cowed. "What do you want?" A figure formed from the shadows, stepping forward, a menacing outline of everything she had buried. "We are your doubts, your fears, and the untold stories you clung to like a lifebuoy." The face took shape, her own reflected back, distorted and monstrous, lips curling in a cruel smile. "You can't be me," she protested, shaking her head as if denying the very existence of this creature. I am more than my past. Are you? The echoing voice twisted the air, dripping with mockery. But what have you become? Just a shell, running from truths you refuse to face. Her stomach dropped, guilt wrapping around her like chains. No, I admit it. The shadow erupted, advancing with unsettling speed. You're terrified of the truth. Afraid you'll transform into everything you swore you'd never become. You've tried to escape, but we are woven into your fabric. Jessica staggered backward, drawn into a vortex of swirling memory, screams, laughter, the echoes of a family torn apart where happiness turned brittle. The darkness was everywhere now, a cacophony of her past. Voices clamored, failure. Betrayal. Loss. No. She cried out, hands covering her ears. But it was too late, the flood of guilt came crashing in, and she stumbled, caught in its undertow. In that moment of vulnerability, something sparked within her, a flicker of defiance ignited by the light still holding strong in her chest. I refuse to let you control me. I am stronger than my past. The shadow-like figure, part of her yet alien, faltered, its form flickering between anger and confusion. You think you can redefine what you are? You think forgiveness is a magic spell? I don't need magic. Jessica felt a steady grounding beneath her every moment she had ever experienced, shaping her resolve. I need strength. I need to acknowledge you, not ignore you. The shadows pulsed, seemingly retreating while swirling around her. Face us then, they hissed. Embrace your pain. Accept your flaws. Then show me. Jessica took a step into the darkness, prepared to gather the shards of her past, the hurt, the mistakes, and the lessons learned. Let us do this. I'm ready to see. The shadows quaked, and for the first time, she saw the multitude of faces swirling inside, their triumphs and struggles painted in hues of despair. As she let go of one like a stray balloon, a shroud of anguish lifted, revealing a fragment of golden warmth she hadn't noticed before. Could acceptance truly transform her? Could it burn away the darkness that gripped her heart? As the shadows writhed, Jessica felt a surge, a thunderous wave of hope crashing down upon her. I am ready to embrace all of me. She shouted, fire igniting in her core. Just then, reality shifted and twisted, the sanctuary seeming to dissolve around her. The figures blurred and dispersed into a silhouette of shimmering lights. She felt herself hurtling forward into an abyss, a whirlpool of colors and emotions. But what awaited her on the other side? As she spiraled into the unknown, a whisper echoed loud and clear, "Welcome to the next chapter of your journey, Jessica. Are you truly ready to face your greatest fear?" The thrill of resolve clashed with an unsettling anticipation as she plummeted deeper into the unknown, heart racing, searching for the light. Jessica's plunge felt endless. Colors flashed by her, wild and chaotic, each hue carrying whispers of moments she had tucked away. Fear surged in her veins, the kind of fear that paralyzes, but also empowers. As she landed, she rolled to the ground. Dirt scratched against her palms, grounding her amid the storm of her thoughts. She blinked, adjusting to the stark daylight, and it morphed into a serene forest glade, vibrantly green and impossibly still. Whispers faded, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves, but something thrummed in the air, a sense of the uncanny, like being watched. "Where am I?" she murmured, rising to her feet, brushing debris from her clothes. Then, a figure stepped into view, cloaked in white light, radiant and ethereal. Jessica squinted against the brilliance. The figure drew closer, revealing sharp features softened by kindness. Just the sight of such presence sent chills along her spine. "Welcome, Jessica," it spoke, voice lilting and resonant. "You seek the truth beyond the shadows?" "Truth?" Jessica echoed, surprised that the warmth didn't feel invasive but rather inviting. I thought I was facing my fears." "Indeed, you are," the figure said, stepping nearer. But fear is not your only companion. Fear is a chain that binds you to the past. The figure stretched out a hand, palm upturned, revealing a flickering flame. This is the flame of your spirit. It can guide you, help you sever those chains if you are willing. Jessica hesitated. What if I'm not strong enough? Strength is born from vulnerability. In facing your truth, you will find that it never held the power to define you. The flame in the figure's hand danced with urgency, as if it understood Jessica's uncertainty. Memories of betrayal clawed at her again. She swallowed hard, the lump in her throat reminding her of painful moments, each one a dagger aimed at her heart. Can you help me? She finally asked, holding her breath. Can you teach me how to break free? It is your flame, dear one. To embrace it, you must first embrace the pain and learn to transform it. The figure lifted the flame higher. Watch and listen to what it shows you. Slowly, Jessica stepped forward, curiosity battling fear. The flame flickered and expanded, wrapping her in warmth. Scenes unfolded, the silhouettes of friendships she had destroyed, promises she had broken, betrayals she had survived. I can't, she gasped, stepping back. I don't want to relive this. But you must face it, the figure replied, its tone gentle yet firm. If you do not confront your past, it will darken your future. Jessica felt the weight of those words. Her heart raced as reluctance healed into resolve. Swallowing her anxiety, she drew closer to the flame, watching the memories swirl around her. What did she fear most? What had she lost that she truly wanted back? Forgive yourself, Jessica, the figure said, voice echoing in the glade, reverberating inside her. Let go of the guilt holding you hostage. It is time to reclaim your spirit. Her chest tightened at the thought. Guilt had been her shadow, her constant companion holding her down. But what if she could release it? A spark of hope ignited. Could forgiveness be her weapon? Just as she was about to reach out, the air crackled, and the ground shook beneath her. No! A voice erupted, harsh and dark, echoing through the clearing. A familiar, twisted form slinked from the shadows, a reflection of everything she despised about herself. It's not over yet. You can't hide from me. Jessica's heart thundered. The battle raged on, two opposing forces entwined tighter than ever. In that moment, she realized acceptance was more than facing her past, it was about claiming her future. As the figure of light flickered beside her, she felt both terrified and empowered. Stop! Jessica screamed, voice filled with newfound determination. You don't control me anymore. But as the shadow lunged forward, darkness threatening to swallow her whole, Jessica steeled herself for the fight. What lay ahead in this tumultuous battle? Was she truly ready to confront the nightmare that lurked within? Only time would tell, for the struggle had just begun. Jessica braced herself, feeling the ground tremble beneath her feet. The shadow snarled, its voice a chilling rasp. You think you can escape me? I am your past. I am every mistake you've made. Her heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drumbeat urging her to run, yet she stood her ground. The light beside her flickered as if testing her resolve. Remember, the glowing figure whispered, your spirit is strong. Trust in it. With those words, Jessica felt a surge of warmth. The shadow lunged, its dark shape a swirling mass of despair and accusation. Those friends you betrayed? They will never forgive you. Your guilt is your shackles. No! Jessica shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. She felt the flame pulsating, vibrant and bold in her hands, and summoned every ounce of courage from deep within. Images flooded her mind, echoes of laughter, shared secrets, and the faces of those who had once trusted her. Each memory twisted her heart, anchoring her in a past she desperately wanted to flee. Face it! She yelled, reminding herself of the warmth wrapping around her. Face the truth. The shadow hesitated, confusion rippling through its inky form. You think you can defeat me with memories? They only serve to haunt you. No. She screamed defiantly, stepping forward. They are not just shadows. They are lessons. Suddenly, the flame ignited, casting a brilliant light across the clearing. The warmth enveloped her, filling her with newfound strength. I can't change the past, but I can grow beyond it. With a fierce cry, she thrust her hands forward, directing the flame toward the shadow. It crackled and sizzled, waging war against the darkness. The shadow shrieked, a cacophony of rage and despair. Stop. You don't understand. It hissed, but Jessica didn't falter. I do understand. You're just a part of me, but you don't define me. The radiant light surged, forging through the darkness with an intensity that made the trees shudder. I choose to forgive. She bellowed. To forgive myself and allow love to enter. The shadow twisted violently, momentarily dissipating but not breaking. It reformed again, fierce eyes blazing like coals. You can't love without fear. You can't forgive without suffering. I can choose joy. Jessica cried back, eyes ablaze with determination. I can choose to let the pain transform me. Suddenly, the flame flickered, expanding wider, engulfing the shadow in its warm glow. The darkness writhed, but underneath, a shimmer of light began to bubble to the surface. That's it, the figure of light said beside her, its voice brimming with pride. You're awakening the power within. Jessica felt a rush, like waves crashing against a rocky shore. This battle is mine. She roared as the energy within her surged to the surface. The light erupted, and the shadow howled, helplessly pulled into the blaze. It was a battle of light against darkness, a desperate push against despair. Would she truly conquer that which had been hidden in her? As the flames engulfed the shadow, the world around her seemed to quiver. The voices in her head, fears, regrets, all those burdens merged into a single scream that rattled her mind. Jessica! The figure cried, urgency in its voice. Hold on. You're almost there. But just as she felt victory within her grasp, the ground trembled violently again, shaking the very fabric of her being. A piercing scream echoed the dark voice she had fought so hard against. It reverberated through the glade like a death knell. Let me go. The shadow shrieked, still twisting, pulling at the remnants of her pain. Jessica's heart pounded as she realized this wasn't over. Not yet. Just when she had taken a step forward in her journey, something darker loomed on the horizon. Why won't you die? The darkness raged, eyes locked on hers, turning the frantic energy into a torrent of fear. And in that moment, a new revelation formed in the depths of her soul. Because I am learning to live. Jessica shouted, ready to confront yet another wave of chaos that threatened to consume her. What would come next in her path to self-redemption? Would she falter in the presence of her persistent shadow, or become its light? The flames surged, battling against the shadow's anguished cries. Jessica's spirit felt like a storm, swirling with every emotion she had locked away. Her heart raced, but her voice rang out clear, cutting through the chaos. You are not my end. The ground beneath her shook violently, the fear in her chest rising like bile. Shadows were alive, and they thrived on doubt. You think you can just forget? You think you can erase me? The voice clawed at her, a dark melody of regrets. But the warmth within her fought back. I will carry you, Jessica proclaimed. But I won't let you control me. With a luminous burst, she pushed her hands forward. The light erupted, and the scream of the shadow echoed through the glade, a chilling reminder of her past. It twisted and fought against the burning beacon, but Jessica pressed on. She could feel her strength swell, the warmth wrapping tighter around her, like an embrace. Suddenly, everything went cold. The light dimmed, flickering uncertainly. Doubt seeped back in, a poison pulling her down. With trembling hands, she held on as the shadow shrieked in triumph. You love this pain. It spat. You feed on it. You'll never be rid of me. No, she gasped, fighting the weight in her heart. You are part of my history, but you don't own my future. Each word was a step, a stepping stone across a churning river of memories. Jessica thought of her friends, the joy she had forgotten amongst the chaos. Their laughter, the way they had encouraged her. The connection stoked her flame anew, and with it, a fierce determination rose within. As the shadow coiled tighter, she felt the figure of light beside her again. Remember who you are, Jessica. You are more than your past. With the reinforcement of that unwavering support, she took a deep breath, her heart racing again, fueled by a mix of desperation and hope. How could she forget? No more hiding. With a roar, she thrust her hands forward again, releasing a torrent of light that shattered the darkness around her, setting free the memories that had long been trapped within. They surged forth, transforming into a spectrum of vibrant colors dancing in the air. Those memories are not your shackles, the glowing figure assured her, resonating with her newfound strength. Embrace them. In that moment, something shifted. The shadow convulsed, losing its form. Jessica felt a wave of powerful compassion wash over her, rushing like a river through her veins. I forgive you, she whispered, vulnerability lacing her voice. I forgive myself. That simple act of acceptance shattered part of the shadow's hold. It shrieked, writhing as the vivid hues enveloped it, casting it in a myriad of colors. Jessica could feel herself brightening, the light radiating from her like a sun breaking through the darkest of nights. But even as its grip loosened, something darker loomed in the shadows. You think this is the end? There is always more darkness. It was a distant growl, an undertone that sent a chill skittering down her spine. Had she really broken free? Or was this just the beginning of another battle? Stay vigilant, the glowing figure urged. This world is not just light and shadow. Jessica lowered her hands, watching as the remnants of her shadow swirled, merging with the ground and taking another form, something sinister, something waiting. Fear gripped her once again, knowing that the battle was evolving, darkening beneath her very feet. What is coming? She asked, a tightening knot in her stomach. The next shadow, the figure warned, is more powerful than you can imagine, and it feeds on fear itself. She felt her certainty flicker, then flare. No. I won't be paralyzed again. With each pulse of determination, she readied herself for whatever threat came next. The ground quaked beneath her, and from the depths, a new dread began to rise. Could she face this new darkness, harnessing the power she had just awakened? The moment of truth was upon her, and once again, she would have to decide to fight. The tremors beneath Jessica's feet intensified, forcing her to steady herself with her hands planted firmly on the ground. Panic clawed at her throat like an unwelcome guest. The air thickened, each breath felt like inhaling lead. She could hear the ominous whispers, the shadow's malevolent laughter echoing in her mind, suffocating her resolve. You can't outrun me, it taunted, its voice slithering around her with practiced ease. Your fear is my power. Embrace it. No. She shouted, her voice breaking through the darkness. I want to be your puppet. With each pulse of her heart, she felt the shimmering light inside her grow dim, but she clung to the hope that flickered like a dying candle. The glowing figure beside her had not vanished, it shone brightly, radiating a warmth that wrapped around her like a protective cloak. Remember the countless times you faced fear, it urged, its voice strong and steady. It only feeds on your doubt. Let it burn away. As she focused, an image flooded her mind, a childhood memory where she stood before a glittering lake, the surface reflecting the sun like shards of crystal. Her friends were splashing in the water, laughing, carefree. She could almost hear their joyful shouts, the echoes of happiness entwined with her soul. Those moments are yours to reclaim. The figure shouted, bursting with energy. Jessica inhaled deeply, letting that spark of image spread like wildfire. She thought of the people who believed in her, those faces lit with hope, their cheers lifting her when she felt lost. With that energy coursing through her, she pushed against the darkness, forcing it back with sheer will. The shadows screeched, their sound like nails on chalkboards, clawing at her mind, clawing at her heart. This isn't over, it hissed, its form looming larger, morphing from emptiness to grotesque shapes that swirled like thick mist. No, I won't let you control me. Jessica screamed, feeling the power rise within her. Gripping the essence of the light inside her, she thrust her palms outward. The brightness cascaded from her, illuminating the darkened glade, casting colorful tones across the murmuring shadows. As the light expanded, the shadows writhed, their screams mingling with Jessica's fierce determination. But just as the darkness began to recede, something far more sinister seeped forth from within the earth. An icy grip that wrapped around her ankle like a serpent, pulling her down. Despair and fear, it laughed, its voice a low growl mixed with the echo of tortured souls. You cannot escape the depths of your own darkness. Jessica gasped, the air around her becoming frigid. Thoughts of inadequacy, shame, and regret flooded into her mind, each one a crushing weight. She felt her knees buckle, the shadows wrapping tighter, each one a memory she detested, each a reminder of her failures, but then, she remembered her earlier promise, the light that was within her wouldn't allow herself to be swallowed whole. Coughing out a cry, she dug her hands into the ground, summoning the remnants of warmth around her. I am more than my past, she declared defiantly, feeling the power swell. The ground trembled again, but this time it was a rhythmic pulse, as if responding to her resolve. Would this energy turn the tide? Would it be enough against the terror creeping up from below? Something snapped within her, an unseen barrier shattering. The power erupted from her, igniting with an intensity that sent shimmers dancing through the air, illuminating everything in vivid color. As light broke through, she could see now the shadow formed not just as an entity, but also as the collective burdens of every lost moment. Each bitterness laid bare before her, but not a prison, not anymore. The entity writhed in anger, bellowing as it struggled against the radiant force. You dare challenge me? I am your very soul. Jessica met its piercing gaze with unwavering determination. The weight of fear felt lighter. No. You are not my soul, you are just a shadow of what I've overcome. With one last surge of strength, she unleashed her light, a dazzling explosion of warmth and color, lighting up every crack and crevice. The darkness screamed, fracturing apart into nothingness, fading into oblivion. But amid the chaos, she sensed something stirring quietly, deeper and more ominous than before. An echoing voice drifted to her, a promise of yet another test to endure. This battle was just a glimpse of far greater darkness lurks beyond. Panic surged within, but Jessica stood her ground, light pulsing around her like a shield. Did she have the strength to face what awaited? Could she tackle the shadows before her that threatened to consume her once more? The wind picked up, howling like the wail of 1,000 lost souls. Jessica braced herself, heart pounding. She had fought for this moment, she had faced the shadow within her. Now, a deeper darkness loomed ahead, and this fight was far from over. Would she have the courage to confront it? Or would it consume her whole? Jessica stood in the clearing, breathless and heart hammering in her chest. The remnants of the shadow faded like smoke in the sunlight, but the sting of darkness lingered in the air, a bitter reminder that her fight wasn't over yet. Prepare yourself, the glowing figure beside her warned, radiating calm in the storm of her emotions. The next shadow is built from the fears you've yet to face. This journey requires not just strength but vulnerability. The forest became eerily still, a heavy silence surrounding them as Jessica grappled with the gravity of the figure's words. What does that even mean? She asked, her voice shaky. Do I have to relive everything again? Yes, the figure affirmed, shimmering like a beacon. But this time, remember each moment has power, not just pain. You carry them within you, waiting to be transformed. Jessica swallowed hard, nerves pooling in the pit of her stomach. But what if I fail again? Failure is not your end. It's a stepping stone toward greater understanding. With a deep, grounding breath, Jessica straightened up, summoning every ounce of strength she could muster. She had already faced so much darkness within herself. She had battled through shadows that whispered that she wasn't enough, that she had lost too much. I can do this, she resolved, the flicker of light in her heart blazing brighter. I will face whatever comes next. In that instant, the air began to shimmer anew, warping and twisting before her eyes. A haze of mist appeared, swirling into shapes she could almost recognize. Shadows formed, twisting and stretching faces of loved ones, hopes now buried under despair, failures and regrets resurrecting from the depths of her heart. No! Jessica shouted, shaking her head violently. You don't control me. The figures seemed to pause, looking at her with a mix of pain and expectation. They whispered, you left us behind. Your heart is still tethered to despair. No! Jessica yelled, fire igniting in her belly. I left those feelings behind, but not the love behind them. She took a hesitant step forward, each footfall firming her resolve. I honor those memories. But I will not be ruled by them. I forgive myself. As she spoke, a powerful pulse radiated from her core. The shadows writhed, uncertain, the faces morphing into expressions of disbelief. She felt warmth surge within her, bathing the clearing in golden light. I see you, each of you. I want to ignore what I've lost or the pain I've caused, but it does not dictate who I am. The light expanded, engulfing the forms like a blooming flower breaking through concrete. The air vibrated as the fiery resolve blasted through, pushing back against the darkness. I am ready to reclaim my joy. She shouted as the light shot forth, dissolving the haunting figures into a kaleidoscope of memories. The promise of hope surged through the transformation, pushing her toward a path she hadn't dared to imagine before. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just liberating her past, she was claiming her future. The radiant shape settled, and she saw her friends, their laughter echoing in her ears like a balm. Memories of warmth washed over her, a comforting reminder that joy and pain were two sides of the same coin. I won't run from you anymore. She exclaimed, breathing deeply. With that declaration, a final surge of clarity swept over her, melding past and present. The figures now smiled soft, knowing smiles, as if she had risen to meet a challenge they'd all long waited for her to face. Welcome to your truth, Jessica, the figure of light said, its voice rich with encouragement. You have broken chains today, but know this, life offers continuous opportunities for growth. Are you prepared to embrace it? She nodded, the weight lifting from her shoulders. A sweet relief washed over her. Yes, she replied, emboldened by her battles. I am ready. No more hiding. As her conviction echoed in the clearing, the landscape brightened, the darkness receding further until it scarcely lingered. She felt lighter, as if she were finally free, stepping into the sunlight. Jessica felt the warmth envelop her like an embrace. The forest whispered, urging her on. She was filled with the unshakable belief that the journey was far from over. It was merely the beginning of her beautiful, chaotic, imperfect story, one that was entirely hers to write, and with that thought, she smiled, ready for whatever came next. Remember, if you want to stay in touch for more incredible stories, make sure to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive tales. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions.